Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 3 of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I am Edward Hunt with my friend
Mike Cunningham.
and we are the Meddling Kids. So today we're going to be reviewing Wakanda Forever. For those joining us for the first time, or if you just want a quick review, we're going to give a spoiler-free review, so don't worry if you haven't seen the movie yet. Listen to the first 5-10 minutes. We'll let you know before we start giving spoilers, just to hear our thoughts. From there, we're going to give a brief plot summary so you have an overarching idea of what we're working with, and then we'll give you a play-by-play, kind of like you were in the movies with us, but you weren't. Then finish with an outro. Mike, you ready to get started?
I am.
Awesome. Kick us off with a spoiler-free review.
Okay, so Wakanda Forever starts after the events of Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had the Thanos snap, and we've also had the revert back. So everybody's, returned to the land of the living. And we just see how Wakanda's state after that.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's also after the passing of Chadwick. So it's very much like a tribute to Chadwick, both the character as Black Panther and T'Challa, and Chadwick Boseman as an actor.
For sure.
So you see them kind of Wakanda and the actors, from the film mourning the loss of such a legend.
Sure.
And so we get introduced to a new antagonist, and I don't think this is a spoiler. It's Namor.
No, I'd say he was in the trailers. Yeah.
So yeah, we get, and it's basically after the events of Black Panther, the first one. T'Challa introduced the world to vibranium.
Yes.
And so now there is an arms race basically looking for vibranium outside of Wakanda. And the only place they find it is under the sea, which disrupts the kingdom of Namor. So he becomes, the antagonist in the story, trying to protect his people against the surface dwellers.
Sure.
And so we see that's basically the story. Spoiler free.
Sure. So kind of what would you give it out of a 5?
Out of 5, I would give it a 4. It's a 4.5. I told you because obviously we watched it last night.
Yeah, we did.
I liked it better than the original in some ways. I do get, after taking some time to take notes, I do see some of the flaws that you have brought up, where it was weak in some areas. I think anything outside of a Wakandan or somebody from Namor's side, it did kind of fall flat.
Yeah.
So I will agree with that. But I just like how the story was told. They're doing very good with these, modern day villains, where they're not villains. Like Michael B. Jordan, said it best during the run for Black Panther. He was saying how he wouldn't call Killmonger a villain. He would call him an antagonist, because there's so many layers to that. Villain just says you think evil. Yeah. Antagonist, there is a depth to it that it's not just I'm doing this because I am a flawed person. There's something deeper than that. Yeah,
Black Panther does a great job of, it's not black or white, it's gray.
Yes.
Right? It's just a very, there aren't just, people aren't just plain evil. Well, there are plain evil people, for sure. It's a Marvel movie. But a lot, like you said, Killmonger, he was a very gray antagonist.
Yes.
You can really understand where he was coming from in the original Black Panther.
Yeah. So I think they did that very well. And also, like I was saying earlier, it was the movie, I think Ryan Coogler and the actors got a chance to send off Chadwick in in an amazing way. He was, obviously he worked in film, so all of his movies will forever be a stamped in in history. But they really gave him a legendary send off, and it's nice to see Marvel did it. And then so many things outside of Hollywood. I mean, outside of film. I guess. Outside of film did it. So The Harder They Fall, I think that came out last year. One of my favorite movies from last year. Some of his, he wasn't even in the film at all, but the name of the train that they stopped in the film was named C.A. Boseman. So it's just you see his stamp not only as an actor, but as this character in the Black Panther, kind of them giving him that send off. Yeah. And I think it was a very good send off. It was a nice passing of the torch to the next Black Panther, the next generation. It was all in all just a really good film. Like I said, I liked it better than the original because of the story that they had to tell, and then the grief that they were kind of going through both in the film and as they were filming it. So definitely, I'd say a 4.5.
Cool, awesome.
Because it did have some flaws.
Yeah. Okay. me, I'm going to give it a 3.5. So I want to really echo a lot of what Mike said here. I feel that when you're looking as a send-off for Chadwick Boseman, phenomenal. I think when you look at the portrayals of Shuri from Letitia Wright acting as Shuri was great. Queen Ramonda, I think she was pretty good for the most part. Like her actress, great. Her character, a couple parts with her character, I was just like, okay, I can kind of see where you're going, but it seems like a bit of a leap.
Yes.
But then my issue with the movie was the pacing. I think the middle parts, couple parts felt a little too long. A couple things felt not quite as buttoned up. I think the third act at the climax, that was rushed to me. That was all of a sudden, and we'll get into it, that was like bang, 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 bang. And then to me, it felt like when there were like 10 minutes left, because this is a 2.5 hour movie. So it's a bit of a longer movie, and that's fine. Like I like slow burn movies. I have nothing wrong with longer movies. But to me, what it felt like is after this end part of it, they're like, holy crap, we need to wrap up 4 storylines really quick. And then they're just like, okay. And then everything felt very rushed at the end. So you didn't get as much emotional connection with other characters. There's another character in there, a young woman, and I didn't really feel that connected with her in the movie. When she was in parts, I was kind of like, okay, I get it, but I don't feel like...
But what I will say to that is, not that you're wrong, but I think that character is already getting a TV series. Mm-hmm. So it was just you getting your eyes on that character first, and then it'll be fleshed. Her story will be fleshed out.
That's great.
In the series.
Yeah.
But fair.
Yeah. It's like, I'm great, but 100% after seeing her portrayal in this movie, I'm like kind of even less inclined to really care about watching that show. Because I'm just like, I didn't feel that connection with her because it just, again, her characterization felt rushed. It felt rushed and not completely as fleshed out as it could have been. And it seemed like they were kind of just relying on be like, yep, you're going to see her. You're just going to like her. She's a spunky character.
It's
going
like
to be
hoping
great.
for a sequel in the original.
Yeah.
Like, well, let's see how this does first.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
But again, so I also want to say a 3.5 is still a good movie. For me, a 3.5 is still an entertaining movie. I was entertained with the movie. I enjoyed it. I can also say there might be some bias. I have been very marveled out since Iron Man. So, so we can say that. And like I watched all this. No, since literally like the Iron Man 2. I remember like I haven't seen Iron Man 2.
You saw Avengers like again?
It's like, oh my god. And don't get me wrong, I've seen all the Avengers, but I did not see oh yeah, no, I've been very marveled out.
That's like seeing Superman in the 70s and be like, okay, you got one more, guys.
You got one more at best, man. And 50 years later, more Superman movies. I'm a DC comic fanboy. I am. I've read a lot of Marvel's comics.
So there's a bias. All right,
there is some bias with it. But again, with even just,
like, to get marveled out in 2010.
When they have 12 more.
We got a long way to go,
man. But again, and looking at, I think Marvel did a great job of exploring new content that hasn't really been explored as much in Marvel, of having this loss and having these things happen to these characters was really cool. But, so that's why, again, I'm going to repeat what I said. Everything about Chadwick Boseman's character, T'Challa, no longer being Black Panther, and seeing our main characters mourn him was phenomenal.
Yes.
The end scene, Letitia Wright, she was amazing. I thought she was great. You really see her transition, like not even transition, you see her arc. You see a phenomenal character arc with her, and that was great. But I felt middle parts of the movie dragged a little bit. I felt the end felt a little rushed, and that was the not parts about Chadwick Boseman's close off. But yeah, again, entertaining movie. I thought it was good. I think it's a lot better than a lot of other Marvel movies I've seen. But yeah, again, 3.5. Do I think you should still see it? Yeah, I would. I mean, I would see it in theaters. I would watch it again. But just for what it was, 3.5. Okay. All right. So we got a 4.5. We got a 3.5. Both can agree. Again, good parts.
4 is fine.
Hey, we don't got to agree on everything. But awesome. So from here, let's take a quick word for our sponsors. If you can see the B on my hat, I'm a member of the Just Be Real Estate team in the DMV. I'm also working on plenty of other projects, but for now, let's focus on real estate. If you're trying to buy or sell a home, it can be a very hard, complicated process. If you'd like some more advice or just to measure out your ideas with somebody, please hit us up at any time. Also, even if you're not in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, where my team is located, we have connections all over the country, and we can help you out that way too. But let's get back into it. Mike, give us a summary, an overarching summary of the movie, please. So, sorry, quick time. We are getting to spoilers. So if you've not seen this yet, both of us do recommend see it. We highly recommend see it. If you'd like spoilers before you see it, now's the time for you to keep listening.
Okay, so just a plot summary of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. The people of Wakanda fight to protect their home from intervening world powers as they mourn the death of King T'Challa.
Yes.
So they're just, as their Black Panther, their protector has passed, so many of the world leaders, or just the world is coming at them. So they have to both grieve and, find a way to stay, a nation that's strong.
For sure.
So there we go. Did you want to start, or you want me to?
Yeah, I can start with this. Yeah. So, as Mike says, we open up with T'Challa dying. We open up, we see Shuri. She is trying desperately to recreate the heart-shaped herb. For those that might not know, that is what gives Black Panther his powers. They, grind it up. The person drinks it. They now have the powers of the Black Panther. At the end of the last movie, Killmonger destroyed all the other heart-shaped herbs, which is why she is trying desperately, because T'Challa has contracted a disease. Yes. He's dying. I think something I really appreciated with this is that we don't actually see Chadwick Boseman's character anymore. And I like that. Rather than have just some pure CGI kind of like...
Yeah, some Princess Leia, Luke.
Yeah. I like instead of just some pure CGI thing, we don't see his body. We don't see him die. And I felt that was respectful to him. I felt that was very respectful to his character. But then we still see Shuri especially and her grief. Yes. And we see all of this happen while she's trying desperately to save him. But then her queen Ramonda comes in, her mother, and says he's no longer with us.
Yes, it was like so. Yeah, it opens up. She's praying to Bossk, their god, the Panther goddess, or god, I don't know which one. And then like somebody in her lab is like, well, he's taking his, he's not looking good. Go spend time with him.
Yes,
and she's just like, no, she's like really trying to get this configuration down for this herb. And then her mom comes in. He's dead. Yeah. And she immediately, they both just grieve. Yes. And then it jumps into...
It's powerful. Yes. It's powerful. Yeah.
And then it jumps into the funeral for T'Challa. Yes. And this is interesting because of the fact that in the original Black Panther, you saw the ritual for him to become Black Panther. So it's just like this whole thing. And it was just like, it's really showing the culture of Wakandans. And it very much like just Africa. Yes. And how Africans really celebrate or what certain rituals and traditions that the people have. So it's like we saw the ritual to become Black Panther in the last film. We see the funeral procession, because that was a big thing too when Killmonger first defeats T'Challa at the ritual combat thing. Their main issue, obviously realizing they needed to protect themselves, is they didn't get to bury him, because it's very important that they properly bury. That's why Killmonger's dad didn't make it to the ancestral plane, because they didn't get to properly bury him. So burial is very important, because this idea that death is not the end. Yeah, T'Challa has said that several times throughout his appearances in the MCU. So you see this funeral procession, everybody's dressed in all white. We were talking about it yesterday. Because of the fact that I think, because death is not the end, a funeral shouldn't be a somber occasion. It should be a celebration of that person's life, like just the all white. Now, granted, like you did say, like...
so, let me tell you. So what happened with the funeral procession is everyone but like the main characters. That's Shuri, Ramonda, Okoye, General Okoye. She was in all the other movies. Everyone but those characters are like celebrating, dancing, and you see smiles and fun. And then you have the people who are actually carrying the casket, and they're crying. And I kind of took me out, is even the people carrying it, they're crying, but they're like stepping in tune with the beat. And I'm like, y'all are just forcing them to dance while they're carrying this casket and all upset.
I think it's one of those things, like all of those people that were in the procession were family members, right? So it's the same thing, like the people that ride in if you've ever been like a part of a funeral of like somebody has passed, there's the people like that ride their own cars to the cemetery, and then there's the people that ride. Like my family, we usually do like a limo or something for like the close family members. So it's like obviously the people that are part of the funeral have more of a connection with it.
Yes, but
so even once again, it's also trying to you can't explain somebody's grief. Like,
Yeah.
yes, because even with Shuri, we do find out that she likes science over the spiritual.
Yeah, the ritual and the spiritual. She can interact.
So, like,
with science.
that's
She
why
knows
her
this.
grief overtakes her. The same thing with her mom. Like, in the past, she just lost her husband.
Yeah.
Now she's lost her son.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like she's like, trying to keep that face because in their religion, in their belief, this isn't the end. But still, that person is gone, or what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like it's trying to understand grief is like it's a losing battle.
For sure, I agree.
But
but you still see all these smiling, happy people, and while like all these other people sad, and like for me, it was like I had this thought in the movie theater. I was like, if the entire culture of Wakanda is everyone, it knows that, oh no, it's fine, we're happy he's dead because he's now with the ancestors. Why are the people, even the people who are crying and grieving, why are they still crying and grieving then? Because you've been raised since you were a small child to believe you're going to the ancestral realm next.
But also, I mean, with Okoye, she's seen him die twice.
Yeah.
Because he was one of the ones that was snapped away in Endgame? No. Infinity War.
Infinity War, yeah.
So it's just like she's seen him go twice. I mean, once again, it's like explaining grief is
for sure. It's
a lost cause. So anyway, you have the funeral procession, and then they send him off, and it's like nice to see that their actual how they send off the people that have passed. That's even saying that something like that, rather than saying he died, it's you passed.
Yeah, because
as if there's a transition. This isn't the end. But we don't need to get into it.
Yeah, but then I will say when he gets beamed up, because the casket gets beamed up in the ship, then all the smiling, happy people all of a sudden decide, oh wait, crap, no, I should be like showing some respect. And granted, I could be very much putting my own spin on. Like I've seen more funerals as more like a somber occasion, and that's when like people in my family have passed. It's been this is somber. Afterwards, you can go drink and everything, but the actual occasion itself, you kind of wait until. Not to be vulgar, they're in the ground, and then you can like celebrate other ways too. But that's just also me putting that there. But
yes, they beat him up into the ship, and that's his final his going away. And then it cuts to the Marvel logo with all of the
which was also really nice.
Yes,
yeah, that was awesome.
And it was like what I will say was like in the theater, silent.
Oh yeah,
and it was like they really. Immediately they put you into this mood. It was like this is our moment of silence for our fallen brother.
And like it's goosebumps. Like, it's hard to see around camera, but like I remember seeing that because instead of the normal Marvel clips of all the other random superheroes, it was just Chadwick Boseman's character Black Panther, him smiling, him hugging his friends and fellow actors. And it was a beautiful send off in like such a Marvel way that only Marvel could do that because Marvel's opening Marvel credit is iconic, but then for them to have taken it and then portrayed it that way, again, very similar to how I loved how they did not show a CGI T'Challa. This felt very respectful and like one of the best send-offs you could really have in the Marvel universe almost. Yeah.
I think they did kind of the same thing with Stan Lee.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, for sure. I wasn't thinking about that, but yeah.
But so after the opening credits and like literally this moment of silence, we get 1 year later. And Queen Ramonda.
I'm pretty sure. It's spelled Ramonda. So I'm pretty sure it's Ramonda. For mispronouncing it, we apologize.
Yeah. So she's been summoned to the UN because the UN, once again, since T'Challa in the original opened up Wakanda to assisting the world, the way Killmonger had wanted. They haven't done it.
Yes.
And it's understandable. It's for fear of a whole thing of like colonization, and not for fear of what vibranium can do. It's what these people will do with it.
Exactly, and also like you have the United States and France. France especially is kind of like laying in, like, why aren't you helping us? We can do things. Meanwhile, it flashes to a Wakandan outpost, and then you have like not the French Foreign Legion. I don't know what French Special Ops soldiers are called, but the equivalent of Navy SEALs, but French. Attacking a Wakandan outpost so they can get vibranium. So while this, France UN person, she is being like, you should be helping us. We should have vibranium. She knows there's a secret force attacking a Wakandan outpost or attacked them like a couple days before. Yeah. It's very hypocritical. Yeah. So it's nice to see France as the bad guy, not just the U.S. I will say.
You never see it.
Yeah. No, I mean, just not the U.S. quite so bad. I was like, that's cool. Like just another country, please.
Yeah. So as she's giving a speech about how like, we're fearful of what other nations will do with this. Yeah. They bring in that force that tried to breach the outreach post. And it's just like they sent everybody the video showing proof of it, and it says if anybody tries this again, we'll take it as an act of aggression, and we won't be as lenient.
Yep, because they did not kill these people. These special ops soldiers came in; they had every right to. The special ops soldiers shot at people, and luckily, no Wakandans died. The Wakandan people had every right there to kill all of them, and like if they had come in and been like dropped their heads in the UN, I'd be like, okay, that's a little much.
I know it was Marvel, but I was hoping they got executed at the UN.
Oh God,
do this shit again, and it will pop up.
Yeah. But they had a very well, Jesus.
That's just your boy.
But they had a very lenient way of being like, cool.
This is also very diplomatic because at the end of the day, you don't want war. You do want peace.
Yes.
You can't bring about peace with nothing but violence.
Yeah.
I mean, even though nations have tried.
Yeah. So then it goes to Queen Ramonda is telling them, it's like, good luck finding vibranium anywhere else, because the Wakandan people, there was a meteorite or an asteroid that fell into Wakanda, and that's how they got vibranium, and they think they're the only ones to have vibranium.
Yes.
The U.S. has a little sensor for vibranium, and it's in the ocean now.
Atlantic Ocean.
The Atlantic Ocean. So you have the special ops team and this big old, kind of like, not a White Basin aircraft carrier, but a pretty big military vessel looking for vibranium, and they found it in the Atlantic.
Yes.
Well, after they find it, all of a sudden stuff starts happening.
Yeah.
You have these heads start popping out of the water. They start doing the siren song, which is really cool.
It was really cool. So you hear the siren song. Well, first the scouts that were in went to look at the machine. They see that the machine has struck a vibranium.
Yep.
And then the signal's lost.
Yep. Signal's lost. Yeah.
And then you start hearing the sirens, and then like random workers on the vessel. If you hear it, you immediately just jump to your death. Is that from the Odyssey or something?
Yeah, Odysseus in the Odyssey. The Iliad in the Odyssey, sirens you'd have the song, and then if you hear the song, you would then throw yourself in the ocean, and then you'd either drown from that or the sirens would kill you and probably eat you. So what happens is you don't know who these people are yet, but all these heads pop out, and then you just see scores of all these researchers just zombified walking and jumping into the water. And you have to be like, what in the world is going on? So then the two commanding officers there realize to put in earphones or earplugs, and they start going off. One guy dies because then these blue-skinned people climb up out of the water onto the boat and just start spearing and killing everyone else.
So then so there's two researchers left.
Yep.
The one dies because he gets speared in the chest, and then the remaining one retreats to the helicopter.
You think she gets out?
The helicopter flies off, and like it's weird. The people the invaders that have attacked the ship are just like, well, he'll take care of it. Yeah. And then so the helicopter's flying off, and you just see it. Something grab it, and then just start whirling around, and it just lands in the ocean. Yeah, and all these people die. There's no survivors. Yeah, everyone's dead. And then you just see a shadowed figure floating above the helicopter in the ocean. Yeah, and then we jump back to Wakanda. Yes,
and then because right now, and we'll get into it, but this was a U.S. operation. They just assumed the Wakandans.
Yes, because if it has to do with vibranium, they assume that the Wakandans are on it.
Yep, exactly.
That is the U.S.'s the CIA, I believe, or just all of the CIA,
SEAL, CIA, FBI.
They assume that the Wakandans attacked the ship. So back in Wakanda, Queen, after her meeting with the UN, she goes and sees Siri, and Siri's hard at work in the lab, and she's just like, "Come with me." Yes, you don't need your beads or anything like that.
You don't need your tech. You don't need your stuff
because you realize it has been a year since the passing of T'Challa.
It's the anniversary of his death.
Sorry. Yes. So she takes her out to kind of like into nature. So there's a ritual, and once again, learning more about the culture of these people. Yeah. There's a ritual where you burn the funeral garb that you wore to the funeral.
Yes, as a way to mark continuing.
Yeah, you're passing the passing of your grief.
Yes, the passing of your grief.
And because Shuri is so adamant about being a scientist and like living by science and logic, she's like, "Oh, I'm not going to do this." Yeah. And then there is you see Namor. I didn't think you were going to see him this
You see him early, yeah.
But he comes out of the water, and they're immediately on edge. Like once again, they're warriors, so it's not like they're damsels in distress.
Well, also, how did someone get into Wakanda?
Yes, so
no one can get into Wakanda.
Yeah, so they're confused because of the fact that since it's all water, he had to swim 150 kilometers or something like that. Yeah, so he just tells them, about the attack on at the Atlantic Ocean. It was like, well, some scientists found a way to find the vibranium.
Yep.
And they came to one of his people's land.
Yep. In the ocean. Yeah.
So he tasked the Wakandans with finding the scientists and bringing them to him.
Because he blames the Wakandans.
Yeah, he blames T'Challa because of the fact that he let the world know about vibranium.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's when they started searching for it.
Exactly.
So he tasked the Wakandans with finding it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the Wakandans have to find the scientists, and they're on some very much like when you're in a movie where your child gets kidnapped and you can't go to police.
Yeah. Okay, because Namor is also like, if you tell anyone about us
outside of Wakanda, like that means he'll take it as an act of war.
Exactly, and then we will wage war against your people.
And so now you have Okoye, the general of the Dora Milaje.
Yes,
is tasked with finding the scientists. So she takes Shuri with her to the United States.
Shuri really wants to go. At first, Queen Ramonda is like, no, absolutely not. But then Shuri's listening. She's like, no, it's fine. I'll go. And then General Okoye is like, well, this might be good for Shuri because since the year of T'Challa passing, she's just kind of been holed up in the lab.
Yes.
Science has been her resource. Science has been her way of, coping with everything. So she's really been holed up in there. So Okoye is like, this could be good. Get her out of the lab. Shuri really wants to go as well. So then Queen Ramonda lets him go. So then they continue on, and then we skip ahead to MIT.
No, so first they meet up with
Ross.
So now they're going to the United States. They meet up with Everett Ross in the woods just to get information about who the scientist is.
Yeah. So the man commits treason. Everett Ross, the FBI agent, who we've seen in the other Marvel movies, he commits treason by letting the Wakandan people know. He's like, okay, well, the scientist is right over here, and I get it.
Because he owes his life to Shuri.
Yeah,
in the first Black Panther, he gets shot in the spine, I believe.
Yes.
And they take him to Wakanda, the first outsider at that time, to heal him.
Yes.
So he has a certain loyalty, both obviously to the United States, but to the Wakanda.
Yeah, and he also, the Wakandans are good people for the most part, obviously political interests aside, but they are good people. They want what's best. So that's also his mentality. So that's why he gives them the information and tells them where the scientist who developed the vibranium detecting machine is located.
So that's when we meet Riri Williams. She is an MIT prodigy.
Yes, 19-year-old MIT prodigy.
Yeah, we meet her. Basically, she did some dude's homework. Yeah, and charged him, I think, initially $800.
Yeah, $800 for homework.
And then it was like the price done gone up. It's $1,000.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Oh God.
But then so they see her and first Shuri's like, I can handle this. I can pretend to be a student. I can get her on my side. Yeah. And Okoye says you got 5 minutes.
Yep.
So she goes, knocks on her door, and Riri immediately recognizes her.
Yeah, she knows her as
and her guard's down or whatever, and she's letting Riri know that her class project, which is what it was, it wasn't even something she was really focusing on this vibranium tracker. Yeah. Because of that, now people are looking for her.
Yes.
Both she mentions Namor.
Yeah.
But she says, but you've been open. You're no longer safe here.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing. She says, you're no longer safe. You need to come with us to Wakanda.
Yeah.
And Riri's like, no, I'm good. Because she tries to go in the bathroom. At first she says...
I feel like, it was iffy on whether or not
she was going to hop out that window.
I thought so,
she was going to hop out that... So she goes to the bathroom. She's like, all right, fine. The whole, I'll listen to you and I'll go with you. Let me just go to the bathroom first and collect my stuff. She was going to be right at that window if they let her go.
So Okoye intercepts that.
Yes. And Okoye somehow got in the bathroom ahead of time.
Yeah.
Climbed the wall.
And then they convince her to go.
Yeah.
They go to Riri's garage where they see her kind of prototypes and different things like that.
She's a very smart woman.
Very smart.
Yeah.
And then they're ambushed by the FBI.
Yes.
And so there's this huge chase where Riri
she built an Iron Man suit.
She's built an Iron Man suit, so she escapes with that. Siri on a motorcycle, Okoye in Riri's dad's car, and then you find out later that this is a car that her and her dad worked on.
Yeah, you don't know it's her dad's car at the time. You just know it's a car.
Yeah,
she likes the car, and she's just like, hey, don't mess up that car. Don't touch that car. It doesn't work. And they're like, no, it works. And you find out later the importance of it in a very rushed fashion that kind of skips ahead of it. But, whatever.
So this chase through Boston proceeds. And then she told them we'll lose them in the Boston traffic.
Yeah.
So they go to cross a bridge and immediately get attacked by the blue people, as
Yes.
we'll call them. Like, so
Yeah.
we can't call them Atlanteans because that's not what they are. That's DC.
Yeah.
They call them Talokanians, because
Talokans.
because they are from Talokan.
Yeah, Talokan.
So, these. It's going to be so hard to say. Namor's homies, but
yeah. That's how. Well, quick side before that even happens too, and this is also I recognize could bias my opinion on some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel with smart stuff, they would just be like, "Oh, if I just use a differential equation correctly, I know how to."
Talking us through it like it's The Martian.
Yeah, exactly. But so for me, background as well as I was a math and science teacher here in DC. I've taught every math and science from 9th grade on. So. Ironheart.
Will Hunting over here.
So Ironheart flying through everything. If I calculate the differential equation correctly, and I'm
funny.
Like, yo.
Spider-Man did the same shit.
Yeah.
Far From No Way Home.
There was an issue I had with that too. It was like, well, based on geometry and the Pythagorean thing, I'm like, all right, guys, like you're just saying stuff that you think will sound smart, but doesn't really make sense. And that does irk me a little bit.
So
they get ambushed.
So they've kind of escaped.
Yep, they get away from the FBI.
But they get attacked by the Namor's homies. I'm not going to keep on saying
I can't just beat the crap out of them.
Literally. Yeah. So even though Okoye stands her ground against the three, three of the invaders, but the
she
big
stabs
guy,
3 of them through the heart.
I think his name is Atuma.
Probably.
The big guy.
Yeah, I think so.
One of Namor's generals.
He beats the crap.
But it's one of those things where it's brute strength versus technique type of thing.
Oh, that man also had technique
and strategy. Versus Okoye's technique and his brute strength kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean, I get that dude still had technique too. Some of the moves he was doing. Yeah. Hey,
but Okoye gets blasted off the
again.
Blasted off the bridge.
Yeah, Team Rocket style. Yeah.
And Shuri wakes up because after they ambush, both Shuri and Riri have been knocked out.
Yeah, because with that, the Talcons have this really cool water grenade.
Yes,
that's what they like. It's probably like this big, and then like whenever it blows up, it's just this huge explosive thing of water.
Yeah. So Shuri wakes up and is like, there's a translator, so they're able to speak to one another, and she's just like. I won't let you kill this girl. Take me to Namor.
Yeah, I'm the princess of Wakanda.
Yeah.
It should have some diplomatic clout.
Yeah.
Instead of just killing her now, take us both to your undersea area.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, fine. So then we see some very terribly CGI whales cart them off, and you're like, okay, there you are, Shamu. And they go.
Yeah. So Okoye can't obviously follow, so she goes back to Wakanda. Well, I don't know if it's first, but the FBI and CIA kind of
examine the crime scene.
Yeah. Everett Ross is there, as well as Valentina something. She's been showing up in different of the Phase 4 TV series.
Yeah.
She's basically creating her own thing.
Any of those.
Yeah. But find out that that's his ex-wife. But the CIA is there. Everett finds these Kimoyo beads that he's familiar with because of he's been around the Wakanda.
They have the beads that wear in the wrist that can basically miracle beads. They can resuscitate the dead. Yeah. They can communicate vitals. Everything. Yeah.
So he takes them and recognizes that Wakandans had something to do with it.
Yes.
And he kind of hides it to make sure that they don't get blamed for it. Okoye then goes back to Wakanda to report what happened. And I think that's what you were saying about the Queen.
Yeah.
Through her grief, because
she's grieving.
She's lost literally her husband in the first film, her son in the beginning of this film, and now her daughter is MIA.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know if she's alive or dead. So it's just a rash decision, yes, but it's all in grief. So she strips Okoye of her rank of the Dora Milaje. She's no longer general.
Yeah.
And Okoye kind of pleads because of the fact that, look, if you know Okoye, she is a warrior through and through.
Absolutely.
Loyal to Wakanda and the throne.
So loyal, yeah.
But she kind of breaks character in a way to plead for forgiveness and to be, let me make this right.
Yeah, even less for forgiveness of just like, she says, let me die as a warrior fighting for Wakanda. She's just like, this is like, I get it. I messed up. All I want to do is make it right. And if I need to die to make it right, I'm going to die to make it right. And Queen Ramonda is just like, knock it out. Yeah. And this was what I was saying. It's like, I get it. And I'm blanking on the actress's name.
Angela Bassett.
Yes, Angela Bassett. And she's a phenomenal actress. So this is nothing against her as an actress. For me, when I saw that from a character-wise, and I was like, I had to rationalize it in my head. I was like, okay, well, no, she's grieving, as you said. Like, she's grieving. She's working through all of this. And like, this is her last family member. It makes sense that she'll be a little extra rash. But you see her in the first movie and this movie. She is just like the matriarch who is capable of doing so. You see her breaking point, and actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you see her breaking point. And that's powerful.
I think that it makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
that's she reached her breaking point. And that's a really powerful moment is to see her that facade
even it's one of the things because she was like, "I'm queen." It was like she starts shouting, because of the fact that her being regal, and it's like so you don't have emotion. You obviously think. Even like all that. But,
so seeing through that is really nice because you see her this entire time as this regal, caring person, or regal, caring, wise person. But underneath it, she's a human or a Wakandan who are also they're humans. Yeah, the Wakandans are humans, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, but just making sure it wasn't like anything different. But,
no, they're not like the Talokanians.
Yeah, exactly. Which seemed they're like a completely different race now.
But so Okoye loses her rank, and Queen Ramonda, out of options. Visits Nakia.
Yes.
In Haiti.
Yes.
And because Nakia in the original film, you find out she was like one of the war dogs for Wakanda. So a spy.
Yep, super spy.
She can get, in places, she can infiltrate where others can't. So she tasked her with finding Shuri. And at the same time, what is it? Oh, and at the same time, you see Shuri in, she's being held captive somewhere.
Yes.
And she has a meeting with
Namor,
and he's just explaining. Basically, he gives his backstory, and you see the story of his people.
Yes.
So in 1571, am I wrong?
Before 1600s, it was before the 1600s, so it was 16th century something.
Is it? Oh, I'm sorry, I have it here.
So as he finds that date, so his people, when the Spanish came over, because they were
1571.
Mayans.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Sorry, I watched the other.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So in 1571, the Mayans are being attacked by
Spanish conquistadors, who are spreading smallpox and disease, which is a very real thing. Handing out smallpox blankets to indigenous populations to kill people and help diffuse fighting.
And so one of their shamans prays to their god, and then he gets a vision.
Kalokan.
Is that what it was?
I think so. Yeah, and they call him. They
call Namor that.
They call Namor that, but I'm pretty sure
they call him Kook. Because that's what I want to say it in the accent.
Yeah.
Appropriation. But he prays to their gods, and he gets a vision about this plant, which is very similar to the heart-shaped herb found in Wakanda. And so he creates this elixir and to give it to his people. Yeah. And the one person that's kind of hesitant about it is Namor's mother because she's pregnant with him at the time.
She doesn't know what it's going to do to the baby.
But so she gets convinced. Well, first the shaman makes her a bracelet as kind of like a peace offering type of thing, using some of the strands from the herb that they found. Yep. And then so she takes it, and everybody gets sick, it seems like. But when they wake up, they can no longer breathe the air, but they can extract the oxygen from the water.
They got gills.
So because of that, their people are able to retreat away from the people who have been invading them to the water where nobody can find them. Yep. And they build up an entire empire underneath the sea where they're just at peace. Yeah. And then so Namor is born, and he's the first mutant, which is interesting. They actually finally say it in the MCU. Yeah, which is because there was inklings about it in with Professor X in Multiverse of Madness, and then it was mentioned in Miss Marvel a bit. But nobody's ever said the word.
Because all the other people, they're blue skin, they have gills. Namor is born. He doesn't have blue skin, but he has pointed ears that point towards the heavens. He doesn't have gills,
but he has winged
ankles.
Yes.
Kind of like Hermes' boots. In Greek mythology, Hermes' boots let him fly very fast.
And so he remains young, but the people around him grow old.
And he lives forever now.
One of his mother, she's told him stories. He mentioned his mother told him stories about Wakanda. So that's why he was so excited to visit it when he made that threat to them early in the film. Yeah. But his mom's last wish was to be buried in her homeland. Now, obviously, under the sea is where they made their home, but that's not where she was born. Yes. So for the first time in decades, his people return to the surface to bury his mother. And they see how the Spanish conquistadors have really ravaged the land and enslaved the people. Yes. Yeah, but
slavery, they have people being whipped on plantations. Yeah.
And so he buries his mother, and then the conquistadors try to attack, and he just slaughters all of them.
Yeah, he and 3 dudes kill all of them. They see that.
Because they were given enhanced strength as well as the ability to breathe underwater. The Talokanians. Yes. And so the guy calls him something in Spanish that means basically the son of like a son of no love or something.
Yeah, because Amor is love in Spanish.
Yeah.
So,
So
then,
no,
like, nah.
and now, yeah. So he gets his name Namor from no love.
Yep, and that's what he tells everyone to call him. That's
what he tells people to call him. So you find out that backstory and like the story of his people and him explaining how he is just trying to protect his people. He has always had a hate for the surface world because from that moment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which makes all
sense. I'm like, I get it.
And then Shuri says, being once again both diplomatic and kind of like trying to protect. She even says like, "Don't kill Riri. Just take me instead."
Yes.
Just kind of be really diplomatic. And so, but she says she wants to see your home.
Yes.
So he does a little joke about how like if we go down there, your bones will break or some shit like that. He goes, "But we have a suit.
But we have a suit for you. It's fine." Which is the same suit from the scientists they killed earlier. Like they did not have a suit until like 2 days ago.
That's why they were confused. It's like, how the hell did y'all get down here?
Yeah, it was like, what in the world? Yeah.
So he takes Shuri, and it was like he takes him to his homeland, and you see Talokan.
Yes.
And it is just
it's a beautiful place.
Beautiful. The same, very similar to Wakanda, and it's just the similarities between Wakanda and Talokan are very are there because of the fact that it's just these people that tried to get away from oppression.
Yes.
And just live peaceful.
Yeah.
And you see that it was just like the bartering in the market, people like growing, people playing games.
Yeah. They're playing. Have you seen?
It was Road to
Road to El Dorado,
yeah.
The classic. I guess it's a Mayan or Aztec, but they were Mayan. But yeah, the Mayan game where you hit the ball through the hoop with your hips. You can't use your hands. They're playing that underwater, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I will say something with this is everyone has blue skin above the land, but in the water, it looks like the blue skin is no longer there. In my personal opinion, it's 100% because you can't see blue skin underwater with those shots. So they're just like, oh, crap, it's fine because we'll just make it when they're under the water. They're not blue skinned anymore. I'm like, no.
I just submitted my disbelief.
Yeah, very much, hey, but that's just something I saw.
Yeah, so Shuri is fascinated by this
for
world.
Sure.
And then you see, another thing I noticed, they do the this kind of symbol. It's like the Power Rangers,
Kamehameha,
but it's like
or the Power Rangers.
Basically, it's the claw, the shark's head, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's very similar. Once again, the similarities to Wakanda, how they do the Wakanda Forever.
Yeah,
the crossing of your hands. They do the kind of the clasping of theirs.
Yeah, they do the Kamehameha.
So, he says that he wants an alliance with the Wakanda because of the vibranium. They have a connection.
Yes.
So, like when he wages war against the surface world, he wants Wakanda's help.
Yes.
And if not, he will lay waste to Wakanda.
He'll kill Wakanda first if they don't come.
Yeah. So then there's that, and then so Nakia is on her kind of on her spy mission. She visits somewhere in I can't remember the place. I didn't write it down.
Yeah. But
she speaks of tales of Namor because that it literally is just a local legend. He is a god in this in this side of the world. And so she locates Shuri and is able to rescue her.
Yeah.
But before she does that, the people that are guarding, there's two women guarding both Shuri and Riri in this underwater cavern. And Nakia wounds one of them.
Kills both.
No. Well, I think she stuns. Oh, maybe
she killed the first one, and then the other one had Shuri at knife point. She said, and then in the Wakandan language, she says, "Shuri, move your left arm," and then she kills the other one with the gun too.
But Shuri, knowing that what this means to Namor, because she's only the only one that had the conversation, she's just trying to save this woman.
Yeah,
but Nakia's we don't have time.
Yes, and also, at point blank range with the sonic air weapon that she had, that's lethal. But so they get out, but Shuri's like, oh no, this means war. Because also Ramonda used a distraction. She called Namor to the surface to give Nakia time to get in there, kill the two people, and rescue them.
And he realizes this, and so
war against Wakanda.
He has a war. So they attack in the morning.
Yeah. Decimate them. They mess them up.
Decimate them, and then he throws one of their water bombs at the queen, and they are just submerged underwater.
Yep.
She, in her last effort, saves Riri because she's, once again, like you said, no matter how she was grieving in that moment with Okoye, she is still very strong, legal.
Yes,
she's a mother figure. She's a matriarch and all these different things. So her first thought was to save this child, this innocent child.
Yeah.
And so that is her last act before she passes. They try to resuscitate her, but they cannot.
Yeah.
And so you find yourself at another funeral visit, very similar. And it was very interesting that they did kind of two in the same film.
Well, to really show, especially for Shuri, like how much loss she's had.
Yes.
And that's, again, when I'm talking from a character arc, again, I applaud Letitia Wright's portrayal of Shuri, and what the Marvel movie did with Shuri is, as it was going along, just to see, like, she lost her brother in the first part. Now she loses her mother, and she is completely lost because when during the funeral, the leader of the Jabari tribe, M'Baku, comes and chats with her and says, "I promised your brother I would give you advice and be here for you." And you kind of see, like, Shuri wants war. Shuri wants vengeance now at this point in time. She wants nothing but revenge, which isn't what he would want for his people, and also isn't necessarily what others would want. But he's like, I'm here to help, and then the elders want to come.
He came to her first to say, one, just to give her counsel, but two, to say that the elders are now trying to retreat from Wakanda because Namor made a threat after you see that the queen has died. He says, you have a week.
Yes.
And then I will be back.
Yeah.
He says, so bury your dead, grieve them and all this stuff, and then we will return.
Yeah, and you better be on our side, because if you're not, we're going to kill all of you.
Yes. Yeah. So now the elders want to retreat because they just want to give Namor what he wants for the people. Yeah. Shuri, like you said, she's gone through all this loss, so she's like, no. I want Namor dead. So she goes back to her lab to kind of to strategize and plan. And this is when you see it's very interesting. It's the similarities to Spider-Man during Far From Home, and how, like, a lot of people hated the fact that in the Homecoming, when Iron Man gave him his Spidey suit, it took away from who the character of Spider-Man is, right? He's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And so, like, in Far From Home, he makes his own spider suit and stuff like that. So you see the same with Riri. Now that she has, because she's very intelligent, but she doesn't have the resources. Yeah. She was like, they said even when she made the vibranium finding machine or whatever, it was from scrapyards and like junkyards. And
car mechanic. Like, she was a car mechanic, so she used car parts and junkyard parts.
So now she has the lab at Wakanda to truly create her suit. Yes, the Ironheart suit. And then you see while she's working on that, they also come up with the understanding, like, a battle tactic for Namor, how to kill him,
because they realize that he doesn't have gills, yet he can still somehow breathe underwater. And breathe in the air. It's because his skin is absorbing oxygen, and they have the whole it's diffusion. And again,
diffuse. That was cool.
Okay. Again,
that was cool to come across. But her walking us through your equation on how you're going to take out a drone. Just shoot it, dum. I don't understand.
Fair.
But you see Riri building that in order to combat Namor, and then Shuri's hard at work trying to create the synthetic,
the heart-shaped
herb, and she realizes she's been given the bracelet from Namor's mother, which has a strand from that original herb.
The string that connected and tied it was made from the herb.
Yes. So she uses that and recreates the heart-shaped herb. It glows, which is how you know it works. She takes it.
That's most things. That's how you know most things. If it glows, it works.
So she takes it, and it's very interesting. So she goes through this kind of an abridged version of the ritual to become the Black Panther. So usually you take the herb and you're buried. And you'll wake up in the ancestral plane. And when you arise, you should have the powers of the Black Panther. But it's just in her lab. So she lays down, she takes it. She doesn't get buried because, once again, is not truly all the way sold into the spiritual thing. The ancestral plane, anything like that. But being that she's going through all this loss, she's lost in her entire family. She's hoping to see them on the ancestral plane. And so she wakes up and she's underwater, which is very interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's also, I think it's that ancestral plane moment is it's connected to the person. So like T'Challa went to the kind of the motherland where all the Panthers were.
Yes.
Killmonger went back to the apartment where he lived with his family.
Absolutely.
So and now Shuri goes back to the throne room where her mother died.
Where her mother, she wakes up underwater just like her mother was underwater, and like you have a good parallel. When her mother grabs Riri and is swimming up, Shuri awakens underwater, and you see her swim up, and then there's the decimated throne room. And then she thinks there's someone sitting in the throne, and she goes up and she's like, okay, trying to see who it is. And who is it?
Killmonger.
Killmonger.
No, this is very interesting too, because I do appreciate they didn't do the whole talking about CGI for
Yes,
T'Challa.
exactly.
It was very nice. It was just let him, rest. We don't need any archive footage, any CGI. Just let him rest. But it's also interesting for the story because she was hoping to see somebody from her family.
Exactly.
She does, technically. She sees her cousin. And goes on and on about how she doesn't want, T'Challa was all talk. Her father was a liar.
Her father was a hypocrite. T'Challa was too noble.
Yeah, and it was like, but he took care of business.
Yes.
And that's why she saw him.
Yes, because she didn't want necessarily, because deep down, like subconsciously, she wants that vengeance. She wants payback. So that's why, even though she wanted to see her family, and that would have been a reprieve for her, it's no. She wants payback. She wants vengeance. So who also in her family that she would see wanted payback and vengeance? Killmonger.
Yes.
So because of that, she sees him.
Yes, and he gives her this speech. It was just like, who are you going to be?
Yeah.
Are you going to be noble like your brother? Or are you going to get things done like you?
You're going to take care of business like
and then she wakes up and she's just very angry because of the fact that even though she didn't believe in the ancestral plane, to reach it and still not see what she thought she'd see, her family, she's angry. And then also because of who she saw. And then but she refuses to say who, but she's like very angry. And she punches a mannequin and it flies to the wall. And it was just like, well, that part worked.
Yeah, well, you got your powers at least. You might not have liked what you see, but you are the new Black Panther.
And that's when I think Riri talking about she didn't have much character development, but she was very much every now and then she had comedic.
Well, so with that too, because she was in everything. Like all of a sudden it was like, for me, part of me was like, why are you in everything? Why? Of everyone that could be with you right now, why is it Nakia and Riri? I was just like, that felt a little.
Well, Riri made sense because she was in the lab.
Yeah, I guess.
Okoye has obviously been disbarred.
Yeah, so she's no longer around.
But I get what you're saying. But anyway, so now, she creates her own Black Panther suit, and there's like you said, the elders have retreated to Jabari, to avoid the wrath of Namor. Yeah, and they're all arguing about what they should do. Mbaku's like, I know I invited y'all to my house. But y'all eating on my food.
Yeah, no, right? It's like, come on now. 2 takeout plates.
And so she returns as the Black Panther, and she's like, now we have our protector back. So Namor can't stop us. We know how to fight him. Yeah. We're gonna go to war. Yeah. And interestingly enough, M'Baku, who was originally was like, we need to kill Namor when they first got introduced to this man from under the sea.
Yep. Fishman.
We need to kill him. But now he's kind of changed his tune, and he's understanding that Namor is a god to these people. He's not just a king. He's not the president or something like that. If he goes down, there will be no one to stop his people.
Exactly. It'll be,
and I think it's interesting to understand that in war, because there's very often it's just I don't know why people have that idea like this, and especially in Hollywood. It was just if we kill their leader, they'll stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a whole. These aren't people who all of a sudden our leader's done. All right, cool. Tell us whatever. No.
Darth Vader goes down, and all the stormtroopers are all right. I guess you guys win.
Yeah, no. It would be a crusade. It'd be a holy war. These people would then stop at nothing to kill all the Wakandans.
So she convinces him, and this is where you see her vengeance as Killmonger. She's like, well, either you get down to lay down on some state property shit.
Yeah, she doesn't really convince him. She tells him. Yes. She's like, that's nice. I'm glad you have an opinion. Good for you. However, shut the fuck up. We're going to war with Namor.
And so they have this strategy where they're going to isolate Namor to dry him out so that he loses his powers. And so they pretend as if somebody is utilizing the vibranium searching tool in the ocean again. And so all of the Talokanians go there, the army goes there to stop it. And they have this sonic amplifier to kind of
mess with their hearing
and stuff like that. Yeah. And then Namor comes out, and they're able to so this huge battle, actually not huge battle ensues.
It's really not that huge
at first.
Yeah.
Because they've kind of subdued the Talokanians. They got to get out of the water. And then they're just kind of trapped on the side of this vessel that the Wakandans have in the water, which pissed me off. It was like, they are in the water. Yeah. Why is your vessel even touching the water?
Exactly. Yeah. Because all of a sudden,
how do you not Obi-Wan this?
Yeah. Because now it's they have the sonic amplifier going, and Shuri is just like, all right, cool. Y'all do your thing. I'm not going to fight Namor. So she does trap him in the ship, because they make an evaporator coil to dry him out, so he can't really breathe anymore and he gets weaker. and she just completely flies off.
Yes.
All to do her
And
battle.
because so once she has Namor, that's all they need. Because once
Yep.
again, it's the idea that like we take out your leader, you're done.
Yeah.
So as the Wakandans are trying to evacuate,
Yeah.
they did somebody, and it's Namora, his second in command, Namor's second in command.
Yep.
Disables the sonic amplifier and disables the ship.
Yeah.
So now the Wakandans can't retreat.
Yeah.
So now the Talokanians attack the
So they
ship.
get killed.
So like this is the big Marvel CGI fight.
Yeah.
Not CGI too much because of I guess the blue.
Yeah, but still. Yeah.
So you have that fight on that vessel and then there's the one-on-ones. There's Shuri versus Namor, which they're in the ship and he starts destroying the ship. So she's like, get us to land, get us to the desert.
And this fight's brutal, by the way. But going back to the Wakandans, especially once the ship gets disabled, you have all these Wakandans like falling in the water, and the Talokans are just spearing the crap out of them.
So like, so as you get this huge like CGI battle, you have a rematch between Okoye and Atuma.
Yep, but Okoye now has a special suit.
Yes, it's the Midnight
Avenger,
something like
Angel,
Midnight Angel.
Midnight Angel. Yeah.
This suit because she's like traditional and old school with the Dora Milaje. She doesn't want any enhancements to the uniform. Yeah. She doesn't think she needs it.
But this is like a superpower suit.
She finally relents. So she's going up against him. Riri is going up against Namora, the Namor second in command, and then Namor versus Shuri.
Yes. And
they're on land, so he's weakened, but he is not out.
Nope.
And they fight, and he stabs her with a spear, which pissed me off because it was like, how do you not see it?
Yeah.
Now, granted, I'm in the audience, so like obviously the movie is like, look. So he stabs her, and he's saying he's dehydrated. He needs water. So he starts stumbling.
He underestimates her. Because like even before, like he loses one of his. Because when he's kind of like standing over her, he's like he kind of feels like he has her beat, and all of a sudden she like slices off one of his wings on one of his ankles, and like he totally underestimates her a little bit because even with all the abuse he took, he still stabs her and still kind of beats her pretty well.
And so he turns his back on her to go get water, and she sees Killmonger again, saying, "What are you going to do? Who are you going to be?" And so she releases herself from the spear, and jumps in front of him and does the Wakanda Forever salute, which triggers the jet engines on the ship
to now burn,
and it burns Namor, really, really injuring him, but he's not dead because he's very kind of indestructible. But now she stands over him with the spear, and she's going to take him out, and she's hearing Killmonger in her head, but then she also hears her mother.
Yeah, and she sees her mother in the ancestral plane.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting. She says Ramonda says the same line that she said to Black Panther in the original, T'Challa in the first Black Panther when he's fighting M'Baku at the ritual combat.
Yeah.
So show them who you are.
Yes. Yeah.
And that the same way it gave T'Challa like that second wind and that extra strength, it breaks something, that vengeance in Shuri. So she just says, and I wrote it down. What did she say? Vengeance has consumed us.
Yes.
We can't let it consume our people. So instead of just outright killing him as it was the plan, and that's what she wanted her vengeance, she says, yield.
Yes.
And I promise to keep the secret of Talokan.
Yep.
The world will never know, you will always be safe.
Yes.
And Namor accepts. Yeah. And so like they fly back together and he gets his people to stop and says there's an alliance.
Yeah. But we also see with all of this, all the Wakandan army that they brought, they're all dead. There's like now 8 people, 10 people left alive from the Wakandans. And you really see the destructiveness of Shuri's vengeance here. Yeah. And I like that. I mean, you really see like she wanted vengeance. She was willing to risk everything for her search of vengeance. And because she did this, her people suffered. And she herself suffered internally and her people suffered. And when they go back, you're just like, oh man, like that kind of washed over. Like, holy crap, like you really lost a lot here.
That's interesting. I felt the same in the original Black Panther when it was basically Wakandans versus Wakandans. Yeah. And very much that it was brother versus brother, like a civil war type of thing. Yeah. So yes, there's an alliance between Talokan and Wakanda, and then I get what you're saying. It kind of wrapped up very quickly.
Yeah, so you have all of this going, and I think all of this took 2 hours and 20 minutes to make or to finish from movie. And now the rest of all these other storylines we've told you about, we're finished in the next 10.
Yeah. So Riri goes back to MIT, but she's not allowed to take her
Ironheart suit.
But I guess we'll see how that affects her in her show. Everett Ross, who got arrested for his treason, gets
they rescue him
by Okoye. And then you see Namor like has a scene in Talokan where one of his second in command is like how like because once again since they follow him as a god, they would have died for him.
How could you kneel to the Wakandans?
Yes. And he just says, and it's very ambiguous, it was just like Wakanda has no allies. The world wants vibranium. They're probably going to attack them. And when the world attacks Wakanda, they're going to have to come to us, which means that there's going to be
they need someone to help.
There's going to be an attack on Talokan to the surface world. So now they're just lying in wait.
Because also, too, if the rest of the world doesn't know about the Talokans, they think all this stuff that's been happening over the entire movie of Americans getting killed, other people getting killed, were all Wakandans. So the rest of the world besides Wakanda believes that Wakanda is responsible for killing everyone else. And then also to go with the Riri part, before she goes back to Cambridge, and this is with the car, we haven't talked about the car, we haven't thought about the car, and all of a sudden Shuri's like, hey, I know what you really want after all of this. You want that car back, huh? And then like Riri's like, oh yeah, that was, and like she means it heartfelt. So that was my dad's car. That was the one thing I had left of him, all the parts. But because it felt such like a throwaway at the end, because you didn't feel like if she had said anything in the beginning about that's my dad's car, please be careful with it. Just say that one line in the very beginning of the movie, so then you see it's even better, like later. And then when she's in the cave, just give her, again, 5 seconds to say, like, do you know if the car's okay? Like, say, this is my dad's car in the beginning. Do you know if my car's okay in the middle? And then it's not, so she's upset. But then at the end, oh, no, the car's fixed now. Oh, wow, that seems really nice.
That's fair.
Yeah. So that was my complaint with the end part and like everything wrapped up. But now we have arguably one of the best scenes in the entire movie coming.
So Shuri, there's another ritual to crown the next Black Panther, leader of Wakanda, and you assume it's going to be Shuri. The ship arrives and it's M'Baku, which is left ambiguous as well because you don't know if Shuri sent him.
Because he says he wants a challenge.
Yes. So it's just like you don't know if Shuri sent him to be the next leader of Wakanda, or he's just kind of trying to usurp the throne, which is very interesting because he's done that in the comics. And so, but you do see Shuri has visited Haiti.
To see Nakia.
And like, so first she finally does the ritual to burn the funeral garb to kind of like let go of her grief. And so she sits there, she's in tears, and she's remembering all that she's lost. Her mother, her brother, and you get another reel of Chadwick Boseman's. And then
great scene.
She's
crying.
It goes to black, and then you get the credits, and then in a post-credit scene,
mid-credit scene, not post. There's no post-credit scene. Don't stay to the very end of the credits. But there is a mid-credit scene.
Where Nakia and a little boy come up. And she says, oh, this is your aunt. Or whatever. And it was like, oh, I was sitting there the whole time like, I didn't know how family units worked. I said, aunt, wait a minute. This is when I started doing the equations. All right, aunt, and that means that her brother is
use diffusion here.
You got to diffuse it backwards.
Diffuse the differential equation.
And so, like, so you realize this is King T'Challa's son. And he says his name is, I can't remember. I think
Toussaint or Toussaint. That's his Haitian name.
But his real name is T'Challa, son of King T'Challa. And it was like, holy shit.
And he's just smiling. He's an adorable kid. He is. He is such a cute kid. And like he's just beaming up. And while you have this emotional moment with Shuri and Nakia and T'Challa Jr. And it's just such a good scene.
And it's interesting. I was reading something earlier. It was like it was the first time that Shuri smiled. In the movie. I guess maybe she smiled hanging out with
Okoye or
Riri a bit, but it was like a genuine smile. So end of the movie. So now
and no post-credit scene. Remember that. So but so kind of as our way to finish up, Mike, would you like to change your rating or your review at all after we talked?
Okay, I will. Okay, I said 4.5. I will give it a solid 4. I guess there were some like inconsistencies and stuff like that. Like I said, anytime it didn't have to do with the Wakandans or the Talokanians, mainly Namor, it did kind of. So that's Everett Ross, that's Valentino, even some of the Riri stuff. It kind of dragged the movie. So I'll give it a 4. But like I said, I still liked it better than the original Black
for
Panther.
sure. And I would say from a Marvel movie, and again, from my closeout is Marvel movie. I think Marvel did a great job of trying something that's not in a lot of Marvel movies. Even the CGI battles weren't quite as big, in my opinion. This was a much bigger movie with more emotion. It was more emotionally large than other Marvel movies. And I will up from a 3.5 to a 3.75.
Now you're just making a difference. No. Are we doing fractions now?
0.333333. But no, again, from the emotional portrayals of all the characters was phenomenal. And again, I do highly recommend everyone see it.
Yes.
And I'd be, depending on how my Saturday is working, we might be seeing it again with some other friends. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so thank you so much for listening, everybody. If you would like to get in contact with us, we are the Two Meddling Kids. That is our Twitter and our Instagram. If you want to email us, you can do twomeddlingkids@gmail.com or ask.2 meddlingkidspod@gmail.com. Please, we would love to hear from you. We also have our TikTok is Ed Hunt, or that's mine. All right, Two Meddling Kids.
Two Meddling Kids on TikTok.
Right now we have our podcast dropping on Mondays. We have Guess That Movie on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're thinking of another little fun TikTok or short for Wednesdays and Fridays. And then that's going to be dropped on YouTube. So yeah, check out our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Anchor. And we're also doing shorts on YouTube, shorts or reels on Instagram, and TikTok videos too. Again, we are the Two Meddling Kids. So we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to reach out to me personally, I'm EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram. I think I might have found my artist for my comic. We'll see. And Mike, how can they reach you?
You can reach me on Instagram at Days from Legendary.
Cool. And we'd love to hear from you anytime. Coming up, you'll see what we got coming up. We'll have another drop on Monday. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.